Hi, Alessandro. All right, welcome everyone to our first community hangout event. The idea of this event is to do them in a recurrent basis, approximately every month, to hang out with the community members of Bardeen, to create some automations, to basically get to know each other and do some FAQ on how we can help you guys achieve your goals with AI automations and with Bardeen, generally speaking. I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys this presentation that I got. A bit about me. I'm in Bardeen community and growth team. I've been almost a year collaborating with Bardeen. Exciting to do initiatives to onboard new users. I do growth, I do product, I do community sometimes. So yeah, I've been 2 years with background on no code, building my own startup, helping startups grow with no code, then entering into Bardeen no code automation, and now entering into this AI space. So yeah, Bardeen is a Chrome extension that helps you automate workflows without code to replace repetitive tasks. It allows you to connect your favorite web applications, scrape data, and create custom automations in minutes. So this is a basic information about Bardeen that you can search on our website. And if any of you is new, I'm happy to help you on board. The first steps are to basically go into the website, download the extension, and check in some tutorials that you have available on Bardeen. All right, so now let's talk about manual work, right? So all of us get to work with manual stuff every day. Actually, 40% of workers spend at least a quarter of their time on the week on repetitive tasks. And this is something that we aim to tackle, and we want to help anyone be able to automate those manual tasks. And the cool thing about automating your work is that automating is like compound interest. You do investments in creating automations, and you see the return of investments in productivity, in time saved, in career growth, and even your own lifestyle, because you will have more time for either your own personal goals or to double down on the things that actually have an impact, right? So time saved compounds over time. This is a graph that I love to share with people because it basically shows that if you were to automate a 1 minute task that you do every day, you will save a calendar day from manual work on a yearly basis. So if, for instance, opening a daily meeting every day, this is a workflow that you can automate with Bardeen to automatically open your meetings. If you were to automate that, you will be saving about 1 day of time in manual work. So this is something to reflect because you get compound interest from automating your tasks. And there's also this effect of compound learning, because when you invest in automation, you acquire this fifth sense of getting to know what is possible and what is not. You start seeing the tasks that you're doing and you start realizing, hey, this copy pasting I can automate. Opening meetings, I can scrape this information from catalog and such. So you get this fifth sense of recognizing what of your work is possible to automate. And that is just muscle memory. It's just creating automations with Bardeen, is just trying out different tools. So now let me talk to you about Bardeen AI. Who here is new to Bardeen AI? I'm curious about that.
I'm new into Bardeen AI though. I haven't been checking this out. So I'm actually really curious about it.
Bardeen AI is introducing new tools for you to automate your workflows using artificial intelligence, and to have Bardeen also help you build automations using AI. This is a video that's on our
AI, the workflow automation tool that automatically builds automation for your most annoying, frustrating manual workflows. We're going to be taking a look at 3 different ways you can leverage AI to become more productive and get more things done, to work from your zone of genius, from the creative space.
All right, so basically what we're introducing with Bardeen AI is a new set of tools that will allow you to either get recommended automations from Bardeen, or have AI build automations for you, or yourself being able to create automations with AI. And that is our focus for today, that we're gonna be building some AI automations. We're gonna be showcasing some of them. And I'm gonna show you some possibilities on what are the actions that you can use to plug in AI into your automations. So this is kind of the fusion between automation and AI to basically power up your automation. All right, so let's see our current toolbox. If you go into Bardeen and you have the OpenAI tool, you can create a playbook or an audiobook, and you will see your available actions here. So you can go to OpenAI and you will see a toolbox of different actions. So this goes from creating a summary to responding questions, creating essays, and this is a bunch of actions that you get available which are basically, if you guys know ChatGPT responds to your questions with some models. So instead of having, a general question, all of these actions, they respond to a specific use case. So if you need to do a summary of a text, you can input a summary, and OpenAI will give you an output of that summary. And that use case also works for, well, there's a lot of actions available. So you can go from generating songs, making jokes, getting tasks from text, or even translating text. So this combines really well. Like the actions by itself, they are powerful. But when we consider like this actions, combining it with the other possibilities of Bardeen, like connecting your data from more than 30 apps that are available, this is where things get interesting, because you will not only be able to use these actions to do small things with AI, because you can already do that with ChatGPT, but now you will be able to leverage AI to use it with, Airtable, for instance, or your Google Calendar or Notion. So let's say you wanted to, I don't know, let me get a summary of a spreadsheet. You can do that, and you can integrate your different apps into these AI actions. And the second opportunity where Bardeen AI works really well is processing data from web scrapers. So Bardeen has a very powerful web scraper tool that allows you to extract data from the web. And with this information, it usually comes, you're able to scrape a whole table. And let's say you want to process that information with AI. So you can scrape a data, for instance, you can scrape a LinkedIn profile, but then you want to get, information about that LinkedIn profile. Let me get a summary. Let me get an email draft to reach out to that user. And those are some possibilities. So before we dive into some specific use cases, I want to get your ideas. Let's do a quick brainstorm. Like, so far, what are the ideas of things that you can do with AI automations with Bardeen? Anyone cares to participate? Any ideas?
Yeah, I'll share one. I'm currently applying for jobs, so I'm using Bardeen a lot for automating just job applications. So I think there's a lot that can be done there. Just scraping the job listings, but also generating an email or generating a cover letter, stuff like that.
All right, those are good ideas. Writing emails, email applications, right? Writing cover letters. You're already scraping data from different websites, right?
Yeah.
All right. That's super good point. Thank you, Alessandro. Francisco, do you have any idea?
So in my side, I will say, for example, like getting to answer emails with not just a particular template. If you bring new artificial intelligence, you can read that email from any founder, for example, on my case from venture capital, and then try to build an email just with the same leverage though from an AI at the end. So trying to make more answers about it, not just one template at the end. So that's something that will be really like a new level on just responding emails with artificial intelligence, and something that I have seen too.
That's a use case we can also explore in a bit. Anyone else cares to participate?
Well, I mean, you know how we use it. We do heavy prospecting on investor profiles and prospects through LinkedIn, and scrape all of their data and then move it through an enrichment process to pull additional information in. So everything cold outreach. We're starting to play around with it, crafting emails, but I just dove into it yesterday. Finally, we've been busy.
Cool. I love these use cases, and I think they are perfect for some of the use cases we're about to see. So yeah, the moment we've been waiting for. Let's see some examples, right? All right, so the first one, actually pretty much related to what both Timothy and Francisco mentioned, is a sales outreach with AI use case. So with Bardeen AI, you're able to turn any LinkedIn profile, scrape data from them, and then create AI redacted email to reach out. So let's see here the example. So that was a pretty interesting example, actually, with the profile of Artem, which is in the call right now. In case you didn't see the video, what this automation does, it basically scrapes data from a LinkedIn profile. It analyzes it with AI. It redacts an AI draft email, and then it prepares you the draft so it's ready to be sent. So instead of sending the email straightforward, it gets you an email draft from the data of the LinkedIn profile. This is the first use case for sales outreach. I want to know any opinions, questions. I think Timothy was wondering about this one.
Not really questions yet. Like I said, I finally got a chance to log in and play around with it a little bit last night, but I was going to spend this weekend kind of going through it and seeing how we can tie it into what we're currently doing from the profiles. It looks like it works great.
You can, yeah, I'll play around because we have a lot of the data already scraped, so we want to do it directly from the data that we already have in an Airtable.
We can play with it right now. So just to show an example, you can open the playbook. I will share it here. This is it. This is the playbook, and I just sent the Notion page for you guys to check it out too. So here you can pin the automation into your Bardeen app, and you will be able to see how it's built. You'll be able to run it, and so you can open this in the builder, and you can see the different steps. So just as an example, let's explore this automation before going into other use cases. So what this does, it scrapes data in the active tab. So it gets data from a LinkedIn profile. Then it finds the email from LinkedIn. It creates the text of the prompt, basically. So I want you to create a cold email with the information of this person about a product, and it uses a bunch of ask me every time inputs. So you can fill in those variables. Then it creates an AI composed email, and it creates a draft email and then opens it. So that's the workflow, and we can try it out. We can go into LinkedIn and try it out on Artem's profile, actually. All right, so we can run the automation, and the steps are, as you saw in the video, you can simply input your name, Ivan. All right, any company names that we want to try here? Let's say Wyra. Email subject line. Let's try it out. I have a proposition for you. Product name, Bardeen AI. Value of the product, automate, manual work, next steps or call to action, schedule a call with me. And we can run the automation over this profile, and it's doing the AI magic to get us a drafted email. Let's wait a bit. Oh, thanks, Timothy, on the heads up. Let me check the Notion. All right, we got the draft. Let's see. Okay, so here we have it. The Artem. I hope this message finds you well. My name is, I think I messed it up here, putting in the company name, but my name is Ivan. That's the purpose of the draft, right? We can modify it. And I'm writing to you about Bardeen AI, a product that automates manual work. I am impressed by your experience as the co-founder and CEO of Bardeen. So basically, it gets the data from the profile and it processes it to create a custom email. So that's an interesting use case. Any thought, opinions on that? Any of you see see how you can be using this at your companies?
Are we able to train it for the messaging? So the output, the content, the actual email itself?
Yeah, so that's the cool thing. You can modify it to your own type of messaging. So cool. Cold sales email. So the magic behind this is the prompt, right? Like, how do I make this prompt include whatever I need to include in my typical email? So this is a merge text action that you can use to build that prompt. So if you were to say, I'm going to create a more fun email, you can modify this and be like, create a fun, engaging, cold outreach email, you can modify it that way, and you can change the different steps in this merge text action to have the prompt that you need. So with the detailed information, OpenAI gets this and then redacts the email for you. Again, let's hop into another use case. So that's sales outreach. Let's go into job search. So this is probably pretty interesting for Alessandro, right? So this is actually a featured use case from an ambassador called Ignacio, who shared this on LinkedIn and was pretty impressive for us. So let's check it out. So what this does is it basically creates a job outreach email based on a job post. So it's the same process as we just saw it, but instead of scraping a profile, it scrapes both your profile and it scrapes the job application. So it gets data from your profile and it gets data from that job role, and it creates a custom email to reach out to that company, to that hiring manager and such. You will likely only be needing the email of the person or the reach out email, and the rest of the work is automated for you, or semi-automated, right? You can modify it as you'd like. All right, let's see the results. So same as the last one, this created a draft in Ignacio's account, and you can see the demo here.
I mean, I'm assuming this will run in the background if we're doing it off of an Airtable column or a Juicy column for the LinkedIn profiles. Or
so if you'd like to do this process for a list of items,
everything we do is at scale. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'm assuming it'll run in the background, or we can set it up to where it'll run in the background process.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if you were to run one automation like this in the background, let's do the same cold outreach email. Instead of doing scrape data on active tab, you would use scrape data on the background,
right,
or a list of URLs. Mm-hmm. So in this case, you will run the scraper over a list of URLs, and the rest of steps, they will probably be the same, right? So if you were to do this for, job searching, it would be the same logic. You will have to do it over a list of job postings and only your link of a LinkedIn profile to be scraped. Those are the things that you can customize in your own automation. All right, let's hop into some productivity hacks that we've discovered. So you can use AI to make your manual workflows faster for things like small things that enhance your productivity, like bookmarking a website or translating. Let's see an example of bookmarking. This is an automation that was pretty popular a couple of weeks ago. So what it does is it's able to create a summary of any website that you're in and then save it into a Notion database. So to run it, you simply go to a website, you run the automation, and you fill in 2 inputs. What is this? And what topic is it? Is it an article? Is it a newsletter? And then you run the automation, and it summarizes that website, and it creates an item into your Notion page. You can do it on a list manually, and you can do it over any type of website, and it'll summarize it, it'll get data from the website, and it'll save it into a Notion database. So here's an example of Ori, one of our team members, doing it over a list of newsletters. So he got the summaries from newsletters, but you should be able to run the same logic over an article, over a LinkedIn profile, and bookmark information into a Notion database. This can also work if you were to use Airtable or Coda instead of Notion. All right, now there's another example to translate any text with a right click. So this is a translation workflow when, for instance, I'm going to right click and I'm going to translate to Portuguese. And what this does is it will run in the background with my translation, with the translation workflow. And let's see if it gets me the translation here. Not sure why I'm not getting it, but this automation, what it does is you can right click over any text and translate it to the language you choose. I think I will need to run it again, but you can see it from here. So you should be able to translate any text in the fastest way possible, probably in the internet. into whatever language you choose. And this is like a useful right-click automation that you can do anytime. All right. There's also a video about this if you would like to check it further. Now let's do another use case, a bit bigger. Like what happens if you want to do some AI on scale? So there's use cases like a research person that they need to do a competitor analysis on, let's do a competitor analysis on a tool called Coda, and they need to go over a list of data on G2, on different websites, check in the reviews, to check in how well rated they are, and what will happen if we were to hack that process. And let's make it into one click. So this automation basically creates a competitor analysis doc with OpenAI to analyze data from Capterra and G2 and save it into a Google Doc. So this kind of automates the work of a person during an entire day, because you specify, hey, I want to scrape this company. It goes through Capterra and G2, scrapes data from their reviews, from their descriptions, from their rankings, and then gets you a Google Doc with the summary. So let's see this automation in action. So you run the competitor analysis automation. You select, hey, I want a competitor analysis on Slack, and this will go over G2, over Capterra. It'll scrape data, and then it'll get you Google Doc that has the summary. So it has the summary of pros, the summary of cons, and the list, like the rating, and the top reviews scraped and ready for you to check. So this is also another output. So you get the summary, and you get the output of the entire spreadsheet for you to check the reviews. So that's another use case, very powerful for research. There's other productivity hacks, writing tools, like you can summarize any website with Bardeen, as I showed you. Now let's do some data processing with AI. So what if you were to rank data using Bardeen? So let's see this example. It basically uses AI for you to rank information from data that you input. So you could rank, for instance, a list of tweets. You could rank scrape data, LinkedIn profiles, and such. Let's see this example. So gets AI ranked tweets from an account. So let's say you wanted to, let's get all tweets from Elon Musk, and let's rank it based on how polemic they are. So this is a fun example. You get the ranking. But this can also be applied for other use cases, like, hey, rank me this list of apartments based on their prices. Rank me this list of people based on their titles and how important they are on their organizations. I want to get if you're able to scrape a list of LinkedIn profiles and their titles, you should be able to tell AI, hey, rank me this list based on their hierarchy and the most important roles in that company. So those are some ideas on this action.
Hey, Ivan.
And there's also, yeah.
Oops. Oh, no, I was gonna say, same with that ranked data based on criteria. Are we able to rank it based on specific information found on the profile? For example, in the volunteer section, or interests and activities that they do?
Yeah, that should be possible.
Yeah, I mean, all the data would be extracted into the spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. And you can leverage existing Bardeen automation. So in that example, we have profile, LinkedIn profile, get data from LinkedIn profile search, for instance. Now let's do this one, just for your example. So you were able to get data from a LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. And let's say with this, I'd like to, well, actually, it's better to rank a list. So this would not make sense. Let's do it over the profile search. So you get data from a list of LinkedIn profiles, and I want to rank that information with OpenAI. So rank, it's recommendation, it's called. Get recommendation provided by OpenAI. And you should be able to rank the list of items. So let's rank. So and you can access the fields from your scraper. Mm-hmm. So let's rank based on, what would you like to try out?
I mean, you just click aim. I got it. I'd have to pull up one. We're looking specifically to extract information on volunteer work, which is in there, but they keep changing where it's located.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just as an example, you could get the degree from people and use a criteria like based on the level of education of these people. So like, let me get the master's first and then then the bachelor's. This is something you can try out, and you can experiment with this action too.
Yeah.
But
All right.
Ivan, with that same example, you need to tell Bardeen what will be the criteria, for example. Like first,
Yeah.
you need okay.
Yeah. And you can it's like it depends on the prompt. You gotta experiment with the prompt to get the most refined information that you want. So if you were to like, if you put in the degrees, you can specify in here in the criteria. We were doing an example, sorry, recommendation of a list of items. Let me just use ask me every time. Let's ignore this. But here, there's the criteria. Here's where you put in the prompt. Like, what is the criteria that you want OpenAI to consider? Here you could customize it on your own way. So yeah, based on how senior people, like on the level of seniority of the titles, for instance, if you were to run it over a LinkedIn profile, or the age. I don't know. It's a very flexible action that you can try out. And just as a last example, I'd like to show you this other action that we recently added into our release notes, and it's get text generated by OpenAI, which it basically allows you to input custom prompts. So this is like a big deal. Basically, it allows you to tell OpenAI, hey, and like I want you to process X text. Like I want you to do this. Like you put in a prompt and it gets you a text. So it's similar to ChatGPT in that sense, because you're able to customize it on the way you want. So let's say I were to generate a story. So you can simply use Bardeen action to, hey, generate me a story about whatever I input. And then when I run this and I inputted Elon Musk abandoning everything and leaving to Mars, and you run it and it will get you a story about it. So this is basically an action that you can use for, like, you can experiment with this. You can try out different prompts. If you're learning about ChatGPT prompting and prompting engineer, you can try out those prompts and with this action and see the results. So here's some ideas that we have in mind of what's coming. So we want to create cold email draft from a LinkedIn profile, from a Twitter profile, qualify the prospect in a Google Sheet, qualify job functions by title, create an introduction investors email with OpenAI, introduce two people with OpenAI with the data from two LinkedIn profile pages. That is an interesting idea we recently had of like what would happen if you were to input two LinkedIn profiles, scrape their data, then use OpenAI to draft an email and send them an intro message, both of them. And yeah, let's get the brain flowing. Any other ideas or thoughts?
So for my side, I will say, for example, like if you are trying to make, for example, a market map, Ivan, for example, like there's a lot of them right now that's happening. Like I want to know about all this sector in health tech, for example, and I already scraped like 60 companies about health tech. How can I, for example, create something just by gathering all the data and just grabbing their logos in a Google document, for example, or like in a where it can be only the logos, for example. So that's something that may be created. No, but that's something that I have been thinking of, like how could we example for doing like graphics and stuff like that. Right now we have ChatGPT that is answering questions when it will be giving you like an image of it instead of only like on a natural person or like with X is like X and Y at the end. Like thinking about that.
Yeah. So like market research, there's things we can do here, but for your specific example, is like typical scraping. It's not AI. Like
yeah, but
you could do AI, for instance, if you were to like you scrape the whole industry. You scrape, for instance, you have a list of healthcare startups. You scrape the whole list, and you want to make summary of the industry. And you're able to input the summaries of the top performing startups and have AI create an essay of, this is the market like situation right now.
For example, like just by the description, you can see that it could have two use cases, for example. Like it could be used for like health tech and it could be also used by another industry. How can AI could detect that just by reading a description, for example. Like it could be, for example, on the telecommunication side, like market, and at the same time, it could be on the construction side, or like the home tech, or like prop tech. So that's something that I have been thinking of, and I have been reading a little bit about it in Europe there, that it's coming into too.
That's really cool. I'd like to help out. Let me know. I'm
Sure.
curious also, Timothy, Juan, David, any other ideas or questions you'd like to, like things that you are intrigued about automating or testing out?
We're gonna play around with it and see what we can do about more market research, but more in seeing what similarities in this that certain companies might be experiencing through looking at PR releases and things like that. See if we can maybe scrape that data and then extrapolate summaries, and then from there find the lead score those companies so that we can figure out which ones are running into similar issues.
All right. What do you mean by the lead score?
Well, just for us to create an internal system that'll match them so that we can, score them on a scale of 1 to 5, for example. So that we can just do it in the spreadsheet itself. But companies that are all, company A, company B, and company C are experiencing X issue when it comes to either market saturation, prospecting issues, liquidity issues, whatever we can glean from scraping data from it, and the summaries that OpenAI would spit out from a market research standpoint. We can then assign a specific score based on companies that are most likely going to be interested in us approaching them with regards to capital raise or service standpoints.
Yeah. And like while you're talking about this, it sounds oddly familiar to the use case we were talking about, criteria, right? Like
it can,
how could you, for instance, if you have some specific criteria items and you have enough data, you could be able, like if you have enough data from every company, like if you scrape data from the list of companies and you have, funding and their industries and the amount of employees, you can put in a criteria of, hey, like rank me the list of companies based on the biggest in number of employees and the biggest investment, for instance. And that way you have a ranked list of, hey, I should prioritize this top 5 companies among the hundreds that you can scrape, right?
Yeah, you could. That just actually leads me to another question. Is there a function for a Google Dork or Google X-ray search parameters to be utilized? So if we do a Google X-ray search, something's hyper specific, can we pull that into an initial column?
What is a Google X-ray?
It's using Google syntax in order to go in your searches, just a more detailed version of an actual search. So
I'm not sure actually.
Okay. It was one of the things I was going to play around with.
Yeah, okay, fine. Go ahead.
If I might go into it, I think that there might be a way, but of course, if you're doing the Google X-ray on incognito mode, it wouldn't work. But maybe if you're uploading those searches like to fill the Google Sheets or the Airtable or whatever, then it might work. But I think that it would only work for the open, not incognito mode.
Okay.
Thank you. Actually, while we're in it, Juan is also an ambassador sometimes. He is in the recruitment space. I'm wondering if you see any opportunities in your work to use AI automation.
For that sort of the recommendations from OpenAI, I was thinking maybe on the insights for companies, for recruitment standpoint, especially from an agency standpoint, it could work from like looking at trends from companies that might be starting again with their hiring needs and like getting that sort of recommendations to, which ones to target based on the criteria of how their headcount is moving. That might work.
Yeah, it's interesting. It went to my mind that right now there's a lot of layouts, and that's pretty bad for the industry in general, but it's also an opportunity for recruiters, right? And there's a couple apps like Layoff XYZ that are mapping like, hey, there's a new layoff announcement. There might be opportunities there for you to track what other companies are laying off people and be the first one to know, like, hey, 1,000 people were laid off Twitter. Here's the information from them. Here's the people that you can reach out. That's an idea. All right, guys. My final call to action, my recommendation is to stay up to date on our new releases. We're trying to double down on AI, and we just shipped 2 releases recently that get into depth in these new features, and every action explains each one of these new actions. So I recommend you guys to check out the release notes. I think they will be very useful. So here's the release notes, and every month or so, we create this release notes and we do some announcements, we do some new feature releases. So for instance, new AI playbooks. Right now, we have more than 12 AI automation that are available, and you can also browse them in our OpenAI integration page. Let me share that integration page with you guys too. And you can also see, well, the different announcements, new features, improvements, and bug fixes. So this also applies for you to stay up to date on improvements on the platform, new features, but also if you're running into a bug and if you're running into an issue, here you can see, hey, this was fixed last time, and you can follow up. So I think we can wrap it up for now. Thank you so much for joining.
Awesome. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Ivan.
Great.
Thanks for running an
Thank
amazing
you.
meeting, and hopefully this will become a regular occurrence. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.